What's up, my comic comrades? Today we continue our journey covering the amazing Absolute Wonder Woman series, and last we left off with issue 7. Today we're picking up with issue 8, part 1 of the As My Mother's Made Me storyline, and making our way through issue 14. So since we got a lot of issues to talk about, let's get started. The issue starts off with Wonder Woman somewhere in the wilds of Gateway City, as we see a bunch of animals surround her like she's a Disney princess or something. She then sets a bunch of potions and tools on the floor in front of her. A pigeon then lands on her finger as she says, "Hello, my darling, are you next? You're so lovely. Do you know I've never seen anything like you before in my life?" As she puts the letter on the pigeon. A crow then comes up to her and she pets it with her finger, saying, "Oh, do not be jealous. You are equally lovely, just different. And crows have been my friends since I was but a babe. Hecate loves you, and Diana too." On the next page, she puts a letter on the crow as well, saying, "Please, my friends, search far and wide for my sisters. Bring me news of them and take my message to them in turn. Go in peace and faith and hope. Hecate protect you all." As we see dozens of birds fly off, spreading her message, searching for her fellow sisters. We're then taken to an undisclosed location in the western United States, as we see director Veronica Cale standing in front of a gigantic vault door, saying her name with the code 196 as a computer says, "Vocal scan verified." The pad on the vault door then also scans her eye, fully verifying her clearance to enter, and when she walks in, a voice says, "Welcome to Area 41, Director Cale." She then makes her way to a woman behind a podium, as we see there's a station that's looking down at someone trapped inside of a glass dome doing experiments. Veronica asks, "How is her mood?" The woman responds, "She's a bit agitated." Veronica says, "That explains the 79 emails I received from her this morning." She then puts on a gas mask, saying, "Keep your hand on that damn button while I'm in there." The woman replies, "Yes, ma'am." Veronica then walks inside to greet who's ever in this glass dome. The person says to Veronica, "Cale." Veronica says, "Dr. Poison, what on earth can I do to please you today?" Telling us this is the absolute version of Dr. Poison. Dr. Poison then says, "You know what you could do. You can get me a new suit." Veronica says, "For the last time, I have people working on it. But as I'm sure you've seen in your internal memos and the literal news, we have some major developments in the last week." Poison responds, "I don't care about your stupid Wonder Woman. I care about a new suit so I can get some fine motor skills in here. Do you know how hard it is to do delicate experiments in this World War II relic? Try holding even a single glass test tube in these dumb hands. I dare you." Veronica replies, "You're gonna change your tune when I play something for you. I'm curious if you'll have a different reaction to it since your..." Poison then interrupts, saying, "If you call me gas one more time, Cale, I'm going to literally fill your lungs with me until you die." As we see Poison leave her World War II relic suit, showing us her true gaseous form. Veronica then plays the sound, and after she plays it, she tells Poison, "It needs a lot of work, of course, but this is a great start for us. I can't believe how much R&D we wasted on a different sonic weapon only for this to drop into our laps. See what you could do with it. I know it's not your specialty, but you're simply one of my best, Poison. I'll check in at the end of the week." As Poison says, inspiration does come from the most unexpected places. Veronica then returns back to the station looking over Poison's dome and asks the woman controlling it, "Any progress from the Vax team?" She replies, "Nothing yet, ma'am. They thought they had something." As Veronica interrupts, saying, "Let me guess, but no." The woman then asks, "Ma'am," but Veronica says, "If you ask me again if you should give Poison one of the new suits, you're not going to have time to pack your desk." The woman replies, "I wasn't going to." Veronica says, "Great, then we're making progress." "What?" The woman asks. She's requested an exit permit, 2 hours, fresh soil sample, she says. Veronica says, "Approved, 2 hours," and she takes an armed guard. We're then taken back to Gateway City now, where we see Steve, Trevor, Barbara, and more of Diana's friends approach her place in the wilds of Gateway City. Barbara then goes to touch one of Diana's pillars that she built as Wonder Woman comes out, grabbing her hand, saying, "Please do not touch the stone, Barbara. It is untouched by human hands, and I need it that way a bit longer. You may examine it at your leisure when I'm finished." Barbara says, "All right." Wonder Woman then goes to Gia, saying, "I would have come to you for these ingredients." Gia interrupts, saying, "I know, but I wanted to see your home." Diana says, "It is." Etta says, "This property is worth a couple of million easily. They're not just gonna let you have this, Diana, much as they should." Diana says, "I think you'll find, Etta, that I own it already." She asks, "How's that?" Diana says, "The land is mine." The owning of land is admittedly an odd concept to me. Barbara then does some quick search on her phone, saying, "She's right. I mean, I assume Hecate Holdings LLC is you." Diana replies, "Yes." She then starts setting up all the ingredients that Gia brought to her and tells everyone, "Apologies, but I need a few moments of privacy for a spell. I'd ask Pegasus to ferry you, but he's taken a message to my mother." Steve and all of them say, "Of course." Wonder Woman then gets on her knees in front of the potion, saying, "What comes now is very complicated, and I have been working on it for most of my life, so it requires focus and appreciation for significance. But it will not take long, as Wonder Woman cuts her arm, saying, "I offer my blood in thanks and supplication for your blessings and for the sacred site. As it was our deed, so shall it be." Diana then continues to recite a spell as she puts potions and ingredients into the soil, and as she continues her spell, we see pillars of concrete and architecture rise from the ground, and on the next page, we see this spell was to create her own home, which we see is named the Heron, and it's beautiful. That's right, Wonder Woman just created a massive building fortress home with a spell that used her blood. Yeah, I love that this version of Wonder Woman is a witch. At this point, Steve, Barbara, and all of Wonder Woman's friends start approaching Wonder Woman's home that just rose from the ground, being like, whoa, is this real? This was absolutely not here 5 minutes ago. This is insane. Steve says, no, this is knowing Diana. As Diana comes out inviting all of her friends in for tea. Once inside enjoying their incredible tea, Wonder Woman asks, "Did you hear that?" They're like, "No." Wonder Woman then starts grabbing her head, being like, "I have to go. Stay here. You'll be safer here." So Wonder Woman then flies off to Union Square in Gateway City, where we see her say to herself, "The sound is almost too much to bear, even for me. But if I deafen myself before finding the source, all is lost. I must resist. What new monster could this be?" As she looks down at the city, she then says the sound is diabolically similar to the Tetracide sound. Weaker, and there's no maw to throw myself into. So it's just pain, fear, confusion. She then flies down to the floor to see robotic spiders emitting the sounds. As she says, these spiders seem to be technological, but are they somehow mixed with the arcane? A woman on the floor then asks Wonder Woman, "Is it over?" She picks the woman up, saying, "Soon, sister. Please leave this area with haste." Wonder Woman then tries to destroy them all one by one, but says, "This is too slow. I need them to come to me. I need to be more of a threat." She then tells the civilians, "Please run away, friends." She then pulls out a potion and speaks to it, saying, "They want me," as she says some magical words. The spell works, and every single robotic spider starts swarming and covering her, as she says to herself, "This might have been a mistake. Now they're forming only on me. I could see where they're coming from, but it's hopeless. There are too many. I feel panic rising sharply in the base of my skull. Mother, do not forsake me. The sound is a trick of hopelessness and despair. It's absolutely overwhelming. Foolish girl, you beat one Tetracide with clever ideas and you think you're invincible? Have you forgotten all your lessons?" Cersei would be ashamed as Wonder Woman finally yells aloud, "Enough!" She then breaks free from the swarm covering her, flying in the air, saying, "Free myself, create distance, confront the source," as she does her iconic Wonder Woman spin that Linda Carter made famous, sending the robotic spiders flying. She then sets her eyes on a nearby building, saying, "This tech is diabolical, but it has many limitations. I have few. Time to take this fight to its origin. I hope whoever is up there likes getting punched in the throat." As she flies to the building to find the source, she says, "Hecate, give me strength to not murder whoever is behind this needless cruelty. I am certain this is some version of the Tetracide sound, so someone recorded it and weaponized it immediately. This is a blind spot for me. I never expected the treachery to be so immediate. To deploy such a weapon while a city is vulnerable and are recovering from such a traumatic event. Even gods are rarely so craven," as she kicks down a door at the top of the building with her eyes now glowing white, saying, "Whoever you are, I hope you are at peace with your creators." As we see, it's Dr. Poison who created and is controlling these spiders. Dr. Poison says, "Wait, don't hit me. My name is Dr. Poison, and you're going to want to hear me out, princess." Wonder Woman then walks towards her, saying, "Am I?" Dr. Poison says, "I know where you could find an Amazon," as Wonder Woman's eyes open with shock, and with that, the issue ends. So let's jump into issue 9.
But first, a while back, we told you guys about Fan Home's 1/8 scale 1966 Batmobile model. Well, I got the subscription myself, and I started building it, and based on the first few boxes, this thing is gonna be a beast when it's done. Now, if you're a longtime member of the Variant community, you already know we're big fans of Fan Home. In fact, I've already built their 1/1 scale Infinity Gauntlet. It's actually sitting right behind me, and I have several other Fan Home model kits lined up for when I finish the 66 Batmobile. Honestly, my garage is starting to look a little bit like that warehouse scene in Raiders of the Lost Ark, but it's gonna be worth it. Anyway, the design for this iconic 1966 Batmobile is straight out of the classic TV show, and they did not miss a single detail. This bad boy is over 2 feet long, has a body and engine of die-cast metal, working lights and sound effects all over the place, including the afterburner, and the dashboard's got all the Bat gadgets and controls from the original. But the best part is getting to build it. With Fan Home's subscription, each month they send you fresh model pieces as well as easy-to-follow assembly instructions. And you also receive a digital magazine collection and a bunch of other fun bonus gifts during your subscription. And with the 66 Batmobile, it includes 3 classic 66 Batman posters, collars, a Batman hat, mug, t-shirt, and this replica license plate. But don't just take my word for it. Click the link in the description to check it out for yourself, and then use code VARIANT to add the subscription to your collection. And do yourself a favor and make sure to look through the rest of their catalog while you're on their website. Just a warning though, you're gonna want everything. Again, just click our link in the description below.
So issue 9 starts off where we see Wonder Woman holding Dr. Poison out of the skyscraper window saying, "First things first, Doctor, turn off your monstrous spiders." Poison replies, "Bring me in. The controls are inside." Wonder Woman says, "No games, Doctor. You have seen what I will do to save the city. Do not think yourself special." Poison responds, "Understood," as Wonder Woman throws her back inside the building next to the computer that controls the spiders. Wonder Woman then says, "Move faster, Doctor, or back out the window you go." Poison replies, "I'm doing it, but I didn't want you to hit me because there's toxic gas in the suit. If you toss me out the window, I'm sure to leak out and kill people." There, it's done. Wonder Woman then says, "Why is there poison in your suit? It makes no sense unless you are the poison." Wonder Woman then says, "Did your government do this to you, Doctor?" She replies, "Not exactly." So Wonder Woman says, "But they gave you the sound, didn't they? This poor recording of the Tetracide song." Poison answers, "Yes." Poison continues to say, "It's strange. You seem angrier now than when you were fighting a skyscraper-sized monster on the beach." Wonder Woman tells her that was an ancient monster from another world doing only what it knew how to do. It was not a clever human harnessing dangerous weapons it doesn't understand, only to use them to purposely hurt fellow citizens. Dr. Poison says, "You understand the monster better than you understand humans. That's going to be interesting." Wonder Woman then looks down at Poison saying, "Call all of your Tetra spiders back here so we can dispose of them properly. I don't want them hurting anyone else." Dr. Poison says, "You can't." "I didn't agree." Wonder Woman then says, "Have you forgotten about the window, Doctor? Do it now." So of course Poison does, and Wonder Woman then says, "Tell me how you know of an Amazon. Tell me of my sister." Poison tells her, "We can trade. You let me go unharmed, and I'll tell you." Wonder Woman then says, "If you hurt more people, I will come for you, Doctor." Poison then tells her, "Where I work, in the lowest levels, there's an ancient maze, and there are all kinds of things trapped inside. Some of them were inside when we discovered it. Others were put in there." Wonder Woman asks, "Fellow humans or just creatures you didn't understand?" Poison says, "Both." Wonder Woman replies, "And was my sister someone you put in the maze or someone that was already there?" Poison says, "She was already inside." As Wonder Woman tells her, "Give me the coordinates to this maze." Dr. Poison says, "I will, but you will never get in. The security is unbelievable, and if you don't plan to kill humans, although you seem quite happy to casually threaten to throw them off buildings, you won't get far." Wonder Woman replies, "That's my problem, not yours. Write down the coordinates." Diana then pulls out one of her magic potions and does yet another spell, opening up a portal on the floor that all the robotic spiders start going through. As Dr. Poison asks, "What have you done? Where are they going?" Wonder Woman says, "Hell, don't do this again, Dr. Poison. I'll be watching." We're then taken back to Wonder Woman's base, the Heron, where we see she's telling Steve, "She gave me the coordinates to the maze inside Area 41. She said one of my Amazon sisters is there." Steve says, "But it's clearly a trap." Wonder Woman says, "Perhaps, perhaps not. There are many reasons she might want to send me in there, but I agree, her motives are not pure." The short of it is, Wonder Woman tells Steve and the rest of her friends like Etta, Gia, and Barbara that she's going after her sister. She then casts yet another spell to create a doorway on one of the walls in her home as she walks straight through it. We're then taken to the past in the Wild Isle as we see a young Diana talking to her mother Cersei. Diana says, "Mom, I had a dream. The pretty lady you told me to watch out for, she came to me in my dream." Her mother asks, "Which one?" Diana says, "She had antlers and a bloody face. She felt dangerous, but her smile was warm. She said I had her favorite name in all the world." Her mother says, "Artemis, it's too soon." "Did she say anything else, Diana?" Diana replies, "She said to meet her outside at dawn." Her mother says, "Go wash up. I'll make you something to eat. Put on your best clothes and boots, and all the weapons you could reasonably carry." As Diana says, "Okay," with laughter, running off with her pet creatures, as we see Wonder Woman's mother say to herself, "It's much too soon." We're then taken back to the present where we see the door that Diana opened takes her to the maze, Area 41. And when she walks in, the door closes behind her as she says, "Already the smell is alarming. This won't help, but at least it's distinctive. Of all the heightened senses I would perhaps agree to have diminished, smell would be the winner without doubt. Oh, the terrible things I have smelled," as she puts the magical symbol on the door to find her way back. She then lights a magical torch and makes her way through the maze while saying, "Dr. Poison baited her hook, and while Steve's concerns are well-founded, the doctor certainly has ulterior motives. But I could not help feeling she was telling the truth. And I'm rarely wrong about that, so much for the loneliness and despair of the maze. It seems we will skip directly to violence, though I suppose it is foolish to be surprised by seeing such a creature in a maze of all places, as she sees a Minotaur being attacked by fishmen. But she says the fishmen stand no chance as the Minotaur destroys them one by one. But at this point, Wonder Woman has armed up and pulled out her her nemesis lasso, saying, "Enough, nemesis, bring me clarity with your searing truth," as she wraps it around the Minotaur. She then says this will either bring him to his knees or prove his innocence. And it does indeed prove his innocence, as she says, "Apologies, my friend, I don't know what this is, but you have my axe. Or perhaps the lasso will do." As she uses the nemesis lasso on the fishmen, Wonder Woman says, "What do we fight for, friend? Our lives or something more?" The Minotaur says, "More. They want Petra." Wonder Woman asks, "Petra?" as she sees a little siren girl cowering in the corner. She says to herself, "A siren, nearly dead, but a siren nonetheless," as Wonder Woman continues to wreck shop on the fishmen alongside her newfound friend, the Minotaur. At this point, the fishmen retreat as Wonder Woman says, "Today I will happily take a retreat. Let's see if we can secure it. You have had but a taste of the nemesis lasso, friends, but it cries out for your sin. Let it taste more. Come closer, I beg you." But the fishmen continue to retreat and full-on run away as Wonder Woman says, "Sometimes the speech does the heavy lifting." The Minotaur says, "We must go. I hear more fishmen close by. They'll join up and redouble their attack." Wonder Woman then joins the Minotaur, who's now carrying Petra, and he tells Wonder Woman, "Thank you for your timely assist, stranger." Wonder Woman then introduces herself as Diana, and the Minotaur says his name is Ferdinand. Ferdinand tells Diana, "If we can be certain we have lost them, I have a place they have yet to find." She asks, "How long have you been here?" He says, "I have always been here." She tells him, "I'm sorry." He says, "As am I, but when it is all you know, I suppose it is easier to bear. How do you know what you have lost when you have never had?" She replies, "How indeed." Diana then says, "I know this is hardly the time for it, but since you have always been here, I cannot think of anyone better to ask. Have you ever seen an Amazon inside the maze?" Ferdinand responds, "Some say Clea is an Amazon, though I have seen no evidence of it other than her strength." Diana asks, "Clea?" Ferdinand then says, "The monster who has taken control of the maze, the woman who hunts Petra. And when they turn the corner, they are greeted by Clea, who's walking towards them on top of her fishmen saying, 'It's Queen Clea.' But then you always have had a disrespectful tongue, Ferdinand. After we grow weary of your screams, we'll cut it out so I never have to think of you again." As Wonder Woman stares at her saying, "This is no Amazon." And with that, we go into issue 10. Issue 10 starts off with Wonder Woman facing off against the Menfish, saying new allies in Ferdinand and Petra somehow always come with new enemies. Queen Clea and her Menfish seem to run the maze. Despots always find their foot soldiers. Clea wants Petra for some reason that Ferdinand has not detailed. A siren could be a powerful weapon, but Petra seems largely helpless. She may be unable to speak, otherwise I think she'd have flattered us with her deadly song, or perhaps the stories are not as accurate as they pretend. Wonder Woman says to Ferdinand, "Use the tight space to our advantage." She agrees, and they start demolishing the Menfish as Wonder Woman is literally grabbing them with her bare hands and tossing them left and right. Clea then says, "On my mark, prepare to fire, you fools." Ferdinand says, "Stay behind me, Diana," as he bulldozes his way through the Menfish, taking arrows to the back, which Clea just ordered her men to fire. Ferdinand essentially makes a wall between the Menfish and Wonder Woman and Petra, telling them, "Go, protect Petra, get out if you can." Wonder Woman says, "Do not give up, my friend, I will be back for you. Have faith, you have the promise of Diana, the Witch of the Wild Isle." Clea then says, "If he lives, bind him for travel. We take him with us, but bring me the siren now. I've waited long enough, and we'll deal with this strange interloper as we do all unwanted things." But when the Menfish get close to Ferdinand, who's fallen on the ground because of his wounds, the Menfish say, "Majesty, they're gone." Clea then says, "Honor guards, secure the prisoner and protect your queen. Scouts, find them and bring them to me. Kill the interloper, but I need the siren alive. Find them." We're then taken to many years ago when Diana was a child in the Wild Isle, aka Hell. We see Wonder Woman's mother put armor on her and give her weapons, as Diana, even at such a young age, has to go out and battle. Diana then takes an axe out with her as she sees a gigantic panther soaked in blood, to which she says, "Hello, I'm Diana of the Wild Isle. Welcome to my home." The panther, which is actually Artemis, the Greek goddess of the hunt, says, "Hello, princess." Diana then tells Artemis, "We do not have much, but what we have is yours." The panther says, "I will take it all." She responds, "If you need it, it is yours." Artemis, who is terrifying by the way, just roars in Diana's face while saying, "Defend yourself, princess." But she replies, "I will not fight you for no reason." Artemis says, "Next time I will not stop. I will take blood, perhaps bones, perhaps an entire limb. Is that not reason enough to fight?" Diana responds, "I accept it. I can bear it." To which Artemis responds, "Because you are weak." Diana comes back saying, "No, I am strong. Lots of things that live here are mean and sad. They always bite and kick and hiss first. But lots of times they just don't know another way to be. I can show them." The panther then bites her hand, causing her to drop her axe, saying, "Now will you fight?" Diana replies, "No." So then the panther sees a helpless turtle and goes to harm it. But Diana stops the panther by throwing her axe in front of its face, saying, "He did nothing to you. Leave him be." The panther then says, "There you are, wild one. I knew I could could find you. Diana then says again, the creature is under my protection. You may not harm him. The Panther says, so stop me. At this point, the Panther, or Artemis, finally pissed Diana off enough to cause her to fight, and guess what? She wins said fight, and even saves the turtle in the process, with her mother ultimately finding her saying, your heart shines so bright, it puts even the gods to shame. Her mother then brings her back home and rubs her head to sleep as she prays, saying, please, Hecate, you must intercede with Artemis. She's just a child. It is too soon for this. She replies, if anything, Circe, it is too late. Everything we do is to fashion her into a weapon. We love the child as we love few things, but do not be confused by the reason of her existence. The very point of her is to place an undefeatable weapon into the heart of a system that must be disrupted, if not destroyed. Circe replies, if you were trying to make a weapon, why also make her a kind little girl who feels every sling and arrow with the entirety of her being? It is unfathomably cruel. Hecate responds, she is a little girl because men are dismissive of little girls, and that she will be unseen. She's the kindest human being we could possibly conceive of, because that above everything else is what monsters do not understand. But also, she is simply herself, Circe. I don't know that any of us could even have imagined her this way. This pure, this compassionate, this full of love. She is a miracle. They will never understand her. And that is an advantage too. But it doesn't mean she won't need to know how to fight. It is already in her. In a different, better world, it would have been allowed to blossom in a more traditional and organic way, the way of her people. This is not the better world, and she must improvise. Have faith and hope, Circe. We are only just the beginning. We are then taken back to the present in the maze at Area 41, where we see Wonder Woman running with Petra saying, I'm not taking you to your hiding place, Petra. I'm getting you out. There is no other way to be sure you'll survive. Not with Ferdinand captured and us on the run. Wonder Woman then says to herself, I can smell the mark I left. We're close. I'm finding myself grateful for my heightened sense of smell. You never know what thing will save you. She then makes her way back to the mark and lets Petra go through the doorway and to Diana's heron. But when she walks through, Petra falls face first to the ground. Diana's friends then come in with them saying, we're definitely sure that's not somehow Diana, right? And Steve says, I mean, not 100%, since we've already seen her be something else. Barbara, does she look somehow dry to you? Barbara responds, sorta? Do you think she's always blue, or is that like a problem we need to be concerned about? Get her some water, Steve. He replies, what? Why me? She says, you're the one who said she looked dry. Barbara says, you did say that. We're then taken back to Diana, who's still in the maze, and she says to herself, if nothing else, Petra is safe. Steve and the others will help her. Now to get Ferdinand out. I'd prefer not to evacuate everyone in here one by one, but I will if I have to, though I will run out of ingredients before. We then see some sort of powerful hallucinogen is attacking Wonder Woman, as she says exactly that, a powerful hallucinogen of some kind. If it is strong enough, if I can't get away from it, don't panic. Don't run. It will move through your body faster if you run. Stop breathing. Too late, it's already inside, as the hallucinogen fully starts taking over her, with her tripping out like she's on acid. This causes her to make her way to Clea and her menfish, and while Clea is on the throne, she tells Diana, well, that worked rather nicely. Well done, minions. Seeing you now, I see the truth of you, an Amazon, quite rare, and a prime candidate for the pits. The menfish then try to attack Diana, but she says, oh no you don't. Clea then says, they prefer fishmen. Diana replies, I'll make a note, as she punches one across the face. Clea then says, I sat into the pit with her. It's honestly amazing I was able to conquer anything with these minions. Dumb as a box of hair, every last one. Diana then says, I feel the drugs are lifting. I could almost think. Clea then throws a scientist into the pit, which obviously causes Wonder Woman to go in after him. Diana says, whatever is down there will be difficult to face under these conditions. But what are we if not our challenges? Diana then catches the scientist before he hits the bottom of the pit. He then tells her, try not to disturb the flowers too much. We'll go mad. You're too big. Stop moving. She says, you're going to be grateful I'm so big in a minute. As the scientist says, oh no, it's coming. Oh my God, it's coming. Diana then says, Hecate, give me strength. Help me to see. As she sees while hallucinating a massive fire person with a hammer coming towards her. And with that, the issue ends. And with that, issue 11 picks up with Wonder Woman fighting this mysterious fire person while saying to herself, the hallucinogenic flowers have overwhelmed me and the scientist I dove into the pit to protect. Now I face an unknown assailant on unfamiliar ground while unable to trust any of my senses. This is madness. I could kill someone fighting blind like this. I cannot allow that. I will not. As she drops her axe and then pulls out one of her potions while saying, my words are slurred, which means I cannot cast as usual, unless my words are fine and it's only my perception of them that is changed. Allow me to see, Athena, to see what is real and true, but hidden from me. Strike me down before allowing me to hurt an innocent. And with that, she falls into the flowers as the hallucinogenic
has seemingly gone away, revealing the scientist and the once fiery person. The person that was on fire bends down to Diana and says, "Can you understand me, science man?" He says, "Yes." The person that goes on to say, "Go with care to the opening. I'll meet you there," and throw a few painful screams up the hole if you don't mind. So of course the scientist does, at which point the scientist asks, "What are you going to do with us?" And the person says, while holding Wonder Woman, "What I always do." But as Wonder Woman is being carried, she sees some kind of mystical water floating, saying, "I see you." At this point, we're brought back to before in the Wild Isle, Hell, as we see Wonder Woman talking to a goddess in animal form yet again saying, "Will you always be angry with me?" The goddess in wolf form says, "Angry?" Diana says, "I know you don't like how I am, that I disappoint you." The goddess responds, "No, princess, that is not true. You delight me. But I confess, you confound me. My disciples are more like me than you. They find me because they are responding to something in themselves that is also in me. It speaks truth to their souls. And so we understand one another well. You do not seek me out, and we do not understand one another." Diana says, "I'm sorry." The goddess says, "Do not be sorry, princess. I think it's good. You are not like me. You are instead like all of us. You're clever in a way that I am not. You're kind and compassionate in a way I do not even comprehend. You are creative and take a long view while I am often impatient. You are the best of all of us, and the world is lucky for this, even if it means you will always confound me with your unexpected ways. This too is a gift to the world. Now take your stone and use your magic on it." Diana asks, "What kind of magic?" The goddess says, "Make the Hydra love the stone. Seek it out. Now throw it into the water." Diana says, "Hard as I can?" The goddess responds, "Maybe not that hard." So Diana throws it in the water, and the goddess says, "Now bring it back to me. No magic." Diana responds, "But the Hydra." The goddess says, "Yes, the Hydra. Remember what we said about choosing the right weapons. It can be everything." Diana says, "I remember." The goddess then waits for Diana to come back with the stone, and Diana eventually does, walking out of the water and putting the stone before the goddess's feet. The goddess says, "Well done, princess. Maybe you are a bit like me." But Diana picks the stone back up and walks back towards the water, with the goddess asking, "Where are you going?" Diana says, "The Hydra and I made a bargain. I let her keep my axe until I brought the stone back to her." The goddess says, "Confounding child." Diana replies, "You said choose the right weapon. The right weapon was the bargain." We're then brought back to the present, where this mystery person and the scientist look over Wonder Woman, who's still knocked out. The mystery person says, "What?" And the scientist says, "Clea said she was an Amazon. That's all I know." At this point, Diana wakes up and says, "He is correct. I am Diana of Themyscira, the last of the Amazons." We then finally see the face of this mystery person or warrior as she says, "Diana of Themyscira? How can that be? I am Io, and you're Diana, the daughter of Queen Hippolyta, dreamed of, the sister we all dreamed of, a miracle." Diana says to herself, "Hippolyta, my Amazon mother's name is Hippolyta." As Io kneels before Diana, Diana picks her up off her knees and says, "The miracle's you, sister. I have dreamed of meeting a sister since I was a child." As the two sisters embrace each other, Io then says, "Wait, why have you never met an Amazon?" Diana replies, "It is a long story, sister, and there's little time for that in this cursed maze. But not long after my birth, I was taken from the Amazons and raised in the underworld by the sorcerer Circe with little help from the goddesses. I am, or I was, until I came to this cursed place, living in Gateway City, California, trying to help humanity and searching for Themyscira, searching for all of you." Diana then says, "I see you have been trapped here for a very long time. A map of the maze tattooed on your body. Ingenious." Io replies, "I fell on an ancient field of battle. Though I thought I was dead, awoke somehow in the maze, buried underground, and then humanity found the maze. I'm so very sorry to say conditions did not improve." Diana says, "Show me, Io, but we must be quick. My friend Ferdinand is still above and likely in mortal danger." Io replies, "Ferdinand helped many of these people, Diana. I've heard their stories. It'll be easy to convince them to rise up if he is in need." Diana responds, "I hope it will not come to that." Io says, "When Cleo and her minions threw me down here, I found a nightmare. Even worse than the maze above, if you can believe it. Over time, with the help of other survivors, we built it into a real community. It's still a nightmare's prison, there's no escaping. But we called it New Hope because that is what it represented for us, even if that new hope was only the hope that we might not survive long enough to free ourselves." Diana asks, "Free yourselves?" Io says, "We've been digging," as she shows Diana the tunnel they've been digging, saying, "We've had decades. Every time we fail, it's devastating, but a new tunnel means new hope. As I'm sure you'll understand well, hope sustains us more than everything else." Diana says, "I do." Io says, "This is our 6th, but in my opinion, most promising attempt." Diana then asks, "What happens with the failed attempts?" Io tells her, "Sometimes we hit metal or stone. We can't get past even with my strength. Our resources are limited. Sometimes the tunnel collapses or threatens the integrity of the structure itself, and with nowhere to escape to, we have to give up on that tunnel. One time we hit seawater." Diana asks if she could see that one, so Io takes her to it and says, "You did say you were raised raised by Circe. I suppose I should not be surprised by magic. Can your magic get us out of here? Diana responds, yes, I have an exit, but getting all of us to that exit without Clea picking us off is going to be the tricky part. Sister, is this ground lower here? She replies, yes, we're close to where the seawater began coming in. We have to shore it up regularly with stone and mud. As Diana looks at the tunnel, she says, an Amazon could survive this. Io could have broken through and simply swam to her freedom. Instead, she stayed with these people for decades so as not to abandon them. I have always believed that the family I was stolen from was great and worthy. Confirmation of this long-held belief washes over me with a power that nearly brings me to my knees. Diana and her sister then make their way back to those pink flowers as Diana asks, why doesn't Clea ever come down herself? Io responds, there was a beast down here. It killed everything she sent down. I did try to reason with it. We continued with the illusion that it lives so she will leave us alone. Io then says, what are you doing, Diana? She says, I cannot risk these flowers taking hold of me again. I need an immunity. Io asks, you can do that? Diana responds, yes. I also need a powerful healing spell for Ferdinand. And there is something else here. Io asks, something? Diana says, something sentient. I think it's going to help us to all survive this. Long story short, Diana tells her sister to get the people ready to move and to protect what Diana gave her with her life. Diana continues to say, when you get to the mark of Hecate on the wall, break this Babel on it. It will open the door into my home in Gateway City and lead your people there. But I will destroy this maze, so make sure you get everyone. Diana then hugs Io goodbye as something mysterious finds Diana through the flowers, that sentient thing that she was referring to. Diana speaks to it saying, I know you are here. Reveal yourself so that together we may escape this cursed place. This water vapor of sorts says, I am incomplete and cannot aid you. Diana says, if I can complete you. The thing responds, then we might have something, Diana of the Wild Isle. Do you know the truth of me? Diana replies, I believe I do. Pay attention. This will happen fast. As Diana leaps out of the pit, landing in front of Clea's throne. She then uses her magic to free Ferdinand from chains, at which point her and Clea start to battle, and Clea gets the upper hand and stabs Diana in the stomach with her staff, saying, where is my siren? As we're taken back to the Hieron, where Steve is putting Petra in the water, saying, please don't die. But shortly after dipping her in the lake, we see Petra go full-on siren with white eyes and fangs. We're then brought back into the maze where Wonder Woman is up against the wall with Clea's staff in her stomach. Diana then pulls it out of her stomach, saying, despite your behavior, I have something great to offer you, if you will only hear me out. But first, as she throws the staff into the pit, Clea screams, no! Clea starts saying, it's okay, it's fine, it's just in the pit, it's not lost. I can send in some of the boys, I can get it back. But Diana puts her hand over the pit as that sentient water beam comes shooting out, wrapping around her arm, with Diana saying, oh Clea, you're getting it back, just not as you imagined. As we see Diana now holding a water trident, the Trident of Poseidon. So that was the sentient being she sensed. It was the Trident of Poseidon. But don't worry, this gets explained a little more in issue 12, so let's jump in. Alright, so issue 12 opens up with Diana opening a can of whoop ass on all the menfish as she swings the Trident of Poseidon. Her internal monologue then says the Trident of Poseidon has a mind of its own. Fortunately, we seem quite aligned in our purpose. I could feel that it is the weapon of a god in every fiber of my being. Yeah, Wonder Woman looks pretty badass wielding the Trident of Poseidon. Also, is this a foreshadow of Absolute Aquaman? I know he normally has the Trident of Neptune, but everything's different in the Absolute universe. Diana then goes on to say Clea had a small piece of it embedded in her staff. Through no fault of the Trident, it may have helped push her over the edge. Close proximity to a tool of the gods could easily drive one mad. The Trident tells me Clea is an Atlantean. I had believed all Atlanteans long dead. Does this mean Atlantis itself also still exists? Are there more, or is she the last of her people? Yet again telling us Absolute Aquaman is coming as they're talking about Atlantis and the Trident of Poseidon. Yeah, he's certainly around the corner. Anyway, Diana goes on to say her home is the sea and she's been trapped in here for decades, perhaps longer. Though I'm disciplined to forgive horrific behavior under any circumstances, I cannot pretend that I don't understand the rage and desperation of being imprisoned. As she throws the trident at all of the fishmen, taking them out with a single strike. Clea then punches Diana, saying, "You took my siren, you destroyed my staff. Now you claim my trident of Poseidon?" As she knees her in the stomach and then punches her in the back. Diana then lays on the floor with a bloody mouth and looks up, saying, "None of those things belong to you, Clea, and that, not me, is why you could not possess them." Diana then speaks magic to a rock, saying, "Find Io." Diana then says, "Ferdinand, follow this stone to my sister Io. She should take it with her when she exits." But Ferdinand replies, "I cannot leave you here alone." Diana says, "I am not alone. Look at all these fishmen." We will meet again as Diana Diana tells herself, but that was the last of my magic reserves. So we're down to just the fundamentals now. Fortunately, my fundamentals are quite strong. But she still is being held down by the fishmen as Clea says, give me control of the trident. Diana replies, that demand nicely sums up why you fail, as Diana uses the trident to push her and the menfish back. Elsewhere, we see Ferdinand has found Io. Io then asks Ferdinand where Diana, her Amazon sister, is. He says she still fights Clea and her menfish. She has a plan, but I confess she did not share it with me. Instead, she told me to come to you with this stone. She says when you exit with it, the maze will seal. Io asks, but she's not coming? Ferdinand says she seemed to have a different plan in mind for herself. So after this, they walk through the portal to Diana's Hieron and get everyone to safety. When Ferdinand walks through, he hears Petra's siren scream, and when he finds her, he grabs her and says, Petra, I am here, it is okay, calming her down with him finally saying, it's okay, we're free now, and it's all going to be okay. We're then taken back to the maze where Clea tells Diana, as she has her hand around her throat, everything was fine until you got here. Diana says, was it though? Diana then punches her off of her saying, you're trapped inside a prison, cut off from your natural habitat, your homeland, eating your own menfish. Clea says, they heal and regenerate limbs. How else would we survive? They know it is an honor. Diana then says to herself the names we will give to things in order to make them seem reasonable. She then tells Clea, you see me as an enemy, but I am in fact your salvation, for I bring you what you ache for more than anything else. As Clea sees water has filled in the pit, asking, how did you? Diana says, not just water, Clea, the Pacific Ocean. I flooded the maze. Clea asks, with your cursed magic? You fool, the fishmen and I will thrive if you flooded it, and you and all of yours will die painfully in the dark. Diana responds, I used no magic, I simply made a hole, though Poseidon, the trident, was a useful ally in this effort. Clea asks, there's an opening in the maze? Diana replies, there is. You can simply follow me to your freedom. Clea then says, and what then? Diana replies, then you return to whatever Atlantean home you lost when you were trapped here. You are a monster in this maze, but are you a monster outside of it? I'm willing to take the chance and find out. But you will find me less accommodating if I see you are still a monster when given your freedom. Clea, the choice is yours. As Wonder Woman leads her in the water to their freedom. We then see Io walk through the portal, being the last one, as she sees the maze starting to flood. But when she walks through, she gets struck with something that teleports her to somewhere else. We're then taken to Gateway City Harbor, where we see Wonder Woman emerge with the Trident of Poseidon. As she says, you never realize how much you miss the sky until it is taken from you. We then see her hover in the air. Citizens are taking pictures and video of her, looking at Clea and her fishmen swim off. She says goodbye to Clea and Hera guide you to a better path. Diana then returns to her Hieron, and when she walks in, she sees everyone from the maze in there, but asks, where is my sister? Where is Io? Steve says she got everyone out, Diana, but then finds out after she set foot outside the maze, a lightning bolt hit her and teleported her somewhere. As Diana says no, falling on her knees, she then says, Hecate, if I have ever pleased you, even once, a sign that she still lives, please. As a white dove flies in and lands on her shoulder, giving her an olive branch, with Wonder Woman looking at the bird saying, thank you, goddess. We then see on the next page her sister Io has been teleported to a temple somewhere, but we quickly find out this isn't just any temple, this is on Themyscira. As Hippolyta walks in saying, by Hera, Io then falls to her knees saying, bless you, Hera, Hippolyta, my queen. Hippolyta then says, we feared we had lost you forever, Io. Io says, Hippolyta, I've seen her, I've seen Diana, she's alive. Hippolyta then says, Diana, ring the bells, Io, ring the bells. As she yells through all of Themyscira, she's alive, Diana lives, Diana lives. Right after this, we're brought back to Area 41, where we see Victoria Kale go to some hidden chamber in Area 41, where we see an imprisoned absolute Zatanna, who's in some sort of crazy straitjacket. And we find out Veronica's there to unleash her on absolute Wonder Woman. That's right, we're getting a battle of Diana and absolute Zatanna somewhere down the line, and it's gonna be crazy. But with that, we jump into issue 13. Issue 13 picks up with Wonder Woman talking to Barbara about Themyscira, as she's describing what Themyscira is to her. She hears over the radio, destroyed an entire casino in Reno. It's still unclear whether it's some kind of natural or supernatural phenomenon, or perhaps tech of some kind. At which point Diana says, forgive me, Barbara, we will have to continue this conversation later. As Steve Trevor says, did you hear that? As we see Wonder Woman run out, he says, guess so. Barbara asks, what's happening? Steve tells her, Diana asked me to hook up the Hieron to breaking international news reports so they will autoplay when they occur. Barbara says, clever, assuming it doesn't drive her mad. We then see Wonder Woman make her way to Reno, Nevada in her badass looking armor as she hovers over the city saying, something is wrong here. Something unnatural. I could feel the edges of it crackling in the air. Diana then sees a flickering light in the destruction and follows it saying, possibly just a live wire, something damaged. No, that feeling, again, not just of charged energy, but something desperate and dark. An ache that feels like a virus, something violent that catches and spreads. As she gets hit with electricity, she pulls out her axe, swinging at it, saying, "Trusted friend, I think we're going to need more than blades." As she tells herself, "Strange, it is unlike me to reach for a weapon so quickly. Perhaps this inconceivable feeling of darkness has compromised me in some way already. Apologies, I did not mean to accelerate the situation. Can you understand me?" As she puts her hands out to this electric beam, but it just electrocutes her. She then uses her magic to say, "Dissolve." She then tells herself a howl of pain, or is it anger? It's hard to think clearly. The violence, the anger in my thoughts is palpable. Is this something dark inside me that is being forced awake, or something dark being forced upon me? And how to know the difference? It treats my attacks as an inconvenience. As it screams, the interior darkness increases. Everything in me tells me to run away or to kill, as this electrical beam brings down destruction and rubble around Wonder Woman. She then stands out of the rubble saying, "Neither are options. I cannot lose myself." It runs. The aggression I feel makes it all but impossible not to give chase. And so I succumb and give chase. Is that its plan? Does it have plans? As Wonder Woman chases it in the sky, flying after it. But she ultimately returns to the Hyron, where Steve asks, "What was it?" She says, "Unclear. I either lost it or it dissipated somewhere over the Pacific." Steve tells her it seemed to have some negative effect on the population, but reporting suggests their behavior returned to normal after it left the area. She tells him, "Yes, I felt it too," but then says, "Don't worry. There's no fatalities, a lot of injured, but no dead or missing. Not sure what's up, but I'll check in when I can." She says, "Be careful out there, Steve. May Hecate protect and keep you." He responds, "And you, Diana." Etta says, "The news is saying that thing in Rio was giving off some serious literal bad vibes. It's not another Tesseride, is it?" Diana says, "No, Etta. I have neither experienced nor read of a creature like this." Diana and Barbara then pick up their conversation about Themyscira. But of course, the radio goes off again saying, "Foreign object reported above La Paloma. Sightings on the ground of a being made of pure energy. Witnesses describe a brightness like lightning, and I'm not sure if I have this right, but a feeling of darkness." Obviously, Wonder Woman armors up again and goes out to confront this creature once more. And when she gets there, she sees firefighters putting out a lighthouse that's on fire, so she immediately helps with her magic and puts the fire out. After that, she makes her way somewhere else, saying this creature leaves a trail of destruction, both physically and emotionally. As she looks down at more fires, she continues to say, "I cannot think of any known creature that does this in such a way. And to that end, does it seek something? So far, all feels so random, pointless." She then says, "There," as she goes to grab a weapon. She says, "No weapons. Whatever power this creature has, it's infecting me in close proximity. I must resist." As she gets attacked by this mystery being, which pisses her off, causing her to ground pound. She loses the creature again and returns back to the Hyron, only for the radio to say Dominican Republic Beach, where a strange lightning creature. She then goes off to the Dominican Republic to fight it there. And then Mexico, and then Hawaii, and so on and so forth. Before the comic jumps to much later, where Diana looks at a gigantic map with all the locations the creature has been. As Diana says, "Oh my, you have been busy." Her friends say, "So many battles, Diana, so many battles, maybe too many." We then learn that this map they're looking at is trying to figure out what area the creature is gonna hit next, and why. But ultimately, the radio says destruction of a sacred site reported in Greece. So Wonder Woman makes her way there to see this being of energy once again. She then squares off with it saying, "Let's end this quickly, shall we?" The being then strikes her as Wonder Woman says, "What bravado, foolish girl. Is this it? Am I defeated by a creature with no name? Was I naive to consider myself blessed and worthy? Fool, is the darkness the whispers in your ear?" As Wonder Woman thinks back to Gia saying, "All magic has a price, Barbara, and the kind of magic Diana does, I suspect the price is quite heavy." Someone asks about what does that mean, and the person responds, "It could mean all kinds of things." As Wonder Woman realizes in the present, it's me. I'm the cause, the destructive creature. It's here because of me. It's the price the world is paying for me. As we see this being of pure energy is the dark side of Wonder Woman. It's the price that's being paid for the magic that Diana uses. And with that, we jump into issue 14. Issue 14 picks up with Wonder Woman fighting what appears to be a dark version of herself, an energy version of herself. It's not really super clear if this is like a dark aspect of herself, but like, we'll see where it goes from here. Anyway, Wonder Woman goes on to say, "If I'm right in my assessment, and I am, I could feel the truth in it that this creature exists because I exist. And the solution to that problem, destroying myself in order to destroy the creature linked to me, is untenable. It cannot be the answer. All of my life, everything leading to this moment, all being cut short by this, as we see her continue to trade blows with this energy being that's dressed in her armor. While she says, I will not allow it to be my end. My rage is clearly amplified by this creature's negative aura, but it is not my own. I recognize the corners of me inside of it, my pride, my stubbornness, my desire. It does seem unfair that my blows do little while it shreds me on impact. Where is the balance in that? I can't affect it, but almost nothing seems to slow it down. She then whispers to one of her potions saying, go to sleep, as she throws it at the being of energy. While she says, it seems more vulnerable to magic than brute strength, but it's barely a weakness. I don't know that I'd call that sleep, but I'll take it, as the magic she uses stuns it briefly. Exhausted from the battle, Diana lays down to rest as absolute Zatanna appears before her in astral form as Wonder Woman says, hello? Who are you? What are you? With Wonder Woman getting up at this point, but Zatanna answers with, my apologies, Princess, Diana of the Wild Isle, Princess of Hell, daughter of Circe, last of the Amazons. And keep in mind, Zatanna is saying all this backwards. It's even written backwards, so you really have to decipher it. Zatanna continues to use magic on Diana, speaking in tongue, but what she's really saying is, I bind you to me while in my presence. Your voice is mine alone. And she says this a few times to Diana using her magic on her before disappearing, with Diana being like, well, that's not good. We're then taken back to the Hyron as Diana's friends ask her, how did it go? Your energy is not what I'd call successful. Wonder Woman sits down exhausted saying, indeed, but I have solved the puzzle. The answer is my death. Wonder Woman then says, when trying to explain magic to Etta and Barbara, Gia noted that it always comes with a price. This creature, it's as if this creature is the price for my existence. If you think of me as a gift to the forces of good in this world, then magic demands a counter. So a gift is given to the forces of evil in this world. In this case, it seems to have formed as some kind of inverse of me. And I think it cannot be defeated so long as I exist. If I exist, it exists. Gia says, sorry, but that's insane. Diana says, I agree. Gia tells her, it's also wrong. Diana says, I'm fairly certain I've judged it correctly, Gia. But Gia says, no, you might be right about the world of magic trying to balance itself because of you, but like that assessment is off. The world is messed up. Edith says, hey, yeah, she's right. Bad people are for the most part in charge of the world, Diana, and things get worse every day. Billionaires with their boots on the necks of the vulnerable, villains that crowdsource murder, corporations that poison unchecked governments, that run secret experiments in ancient underground mazes, tech companies surveilling everything and everyone. How on earth is any of that balanced? Gia says, if anything, you are long overdue as balance. The world is crying out for her. Diana then stands up saying, you are right, Gia. Hecate and all the goddesses, their talk is often cryptic, sometimes straight up riddles, but they nearly always know that the world is out of sync. Darker than it's supposed to be, more hopeless, justice too rare, too fleeting. Diana asks her friends, where do you think it's going to hit next? Then once they figure it out, Diana sets off to face this being once again. As she says to herself, Mother used to say that being around me was like being swallowed by a vortex of love and compassion of kindness. Is this feeling the inverse of that? To call a god such as this, I will need to bleed profusely. As she lets the being strike her, causing her to bleed profusely. This sacrifice of sorts ultimately brings her to the god Gaia by way of falling through the earth. Once she's before Gaia, Wonder Woman says, forgive my behavior, goddess. It is rare to be in a presence as powerful as yours. I lost my sense. I offer my deepest apologies for causing strife in your sanctum. I come to you, Diana of Themyscira, Princess of Hell, daughter of Circe, Witch of the Wild Isle, Wonder Woman of Gateway City. I come bearing the mark of Hecate, goddess of the crossroads, as the champion of Hecate, Hera, and Demeter, of Athena and Artemis, of Hestia and Aphrodite, and of all those who seek justice, above and below. I humbly beseech your audience. I am in great need of your wise counsel. Should you find my words worthless, my life is yours as all our lives are yours. Gaia replies, you do not belong here, Diana of Themyscira. Diana says, apologies, goddess. I felt I had no choice. She says, humans are quick to say that. I hear your request, but I cannot help you. The world has sought to correct the imbalance that you bring, and I cannot object to that. Wonder Woman says, with respect, goddess, I feel the world has been tricked. The world is not in balance. The existence of me and others like me is long overdue, I'm afraid. And even with us, any balance is a long way from being restored. There is imbalance in this world, goddess, but I do not believe I am the aberration. If you take a closer look for yourself, I think you will see. Gaia responds, it's bold to suggest you know the world better than I, as I am the world. Diana says, sometimes, goddess, the closer you are to something, the harder it can be to see. So Gaia takes another look at the world and all of its evil, from the peacemakers and absolute Superman to the Black Mask and his gang and absolute Batman. As Gaia says to Wonder Woman, you are right, Diana, something is wrong in the world and has been for a very long time, maybe since the very beginning. There's a darkness I do not quite understand. Raise your eyes to me, Princess of Hell. Stand. command. You will fight this darkness. You will give your life in my name. Diana says, yes, goddess, with pleasure, as Gaia says, so be it, sending Wonder Woman back to the Earth's surface. And once this happens, Gaia swallows this evil energy that was created to supposedly balance out Diana. And with that, true balance has been restored. After this, we see Diana go back to her Hyron to meet up with Steve, who says, do you want to talk about it? She says, the creature is gone, destroyed by Gaia. He says, Gaia, like the Earth? She says, the one and only, and then also says, I may have also been cursed by a beautiful witch. Obviously referring to Zatanna. I wish she told me her name. She seemed to know most of mine. Now, we know from the end of issue 12 that Veronica Cale has unleashed Zatanna on Diana, and I cannot wait to see where this goes because she looks badass. Anyway, Steve then tells her, I had some interesting meetings with the military while you were away. It's going to be a problem, Diana. She says, we knew it would be, one thing at a time. Speaking of, did you have any success with the jump drive my main scientist left with us? Steve looks at the drive saying, I did. There's a lot of information here about you, more than I would have anticipated, but there's more details on the Batman, Superman, and the others. Diana and Steve then turn back around as the radio says, in Gotham City, a strange burning mark left on the wall near the latest victim. Steve then looks at the news feed to see the symbol and asks Diana, is that? She says, yes, it's the mark of Hecate. And with that, issue 14 and the second volume of Absolute Wonder Woman comes to an end. We hope you guys are digging these longer form retellings of the broader story for the Absolute characters, and definitely let us know if you'd like to see more of them. Next up, we'll be covering the entire Absolute Batman crossover with Absolute Wonder Woman, which starts in Absolute Wonder Woman 15 and concludes in Absolute Batman 16. And this is going to be a ton of fun to cover. I love this Absolute universe and can't wait to see what DC has coming for the next few months. But what do you guys think? Let us know your thoughts down in the comments, and we'll see you next time when we talk about all things comics.